Distribution provided by Cloud Sigma, the cloud that adapts to you. Visit cloudsigma.com/thisweekin for a free $200 credit. Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by Hiscox. Go to hiscoxusa.com/smallbiz for your business insurance needs. And by SquareSpace. Use the promo code TWiST10 when signing up to save 10%.
You know what's right for your small business.
I pick the right tools to click with my clients.
When it's game time, I have the right answer, no matter the playing field.
Your small business is unique. So is our coverage. Hiscox. Get the right insurance right now.
Hey everybody, Joe Beninato is here with us. He is the serial entrepreneur and founder of Tello. Stick with us. It's going to be an amazing episode.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody, this is This Week in Startups. What is the program about? Really, you can't figure it out? This Week in Startups. This is the show about startups, entrepreneurship, founding companies, trying to make a dent in the universe, trying to build something that is just better than what came before, trying to move the human species, the race, a little bit further, make products that are just a little bit better, enrich the world, add a little more joy. Today will be no different. Today we have Joe Beninato with us. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah.
Beninato.
Beninato.
Was that Italian?
Beninato. That means
Beninato.
of good birth.
I was about to say, bene is good. Beninato. Of good birth.
Yes.
So is that like you come from a family of like kings or something? Or or that you just had a good birthing process?
My grandfather's from Sicily.
Oh.
And so watch out.
You know, Sicily. It was conquered by the Moors.
yes, it was. There's a lot of DNA flowing around in there, but...
one of the best scenes from True Romance, right?
Who was
that? That would be Christopher Walken.
Yes.
And what's his name? He just died. From Easy Rider. What's the actor's name? Anyway, we'll pull it up later. Dennis Hopper. Okay. Of good birth.
Of good birth, yeah. So actually, when my family, I've never been to Sicily. When my family's gone back there, they're not allowed to like stay in hotels. They have to stay in somebody's house, like just based on the name. The mayor was Beninato, and
really?
Someday I'm going to take the kids back there, and we're going to see what it's all about. But
absolutely,
haven't been there yet.
And so he's with a company called Tello. They've raised money from TrueVentures. I always get those two guys mixed up because they both do sort of the same thing, get in early on really promising startup. TrueVentures, great company, and we're going to get all into that story. And you've actually been with Roku before that and Presto and a bunch of other interesting companies, Wen.com, acquired by OL. But first, let me tell you about our partner. This show is, I'll be honest, is doing tremendous. Like, this is 300 episodes in. We're hiring actually a new producer to work on my show and This Week in Venture Capital. So if you are a super fan, I love hiring the super fans. Jason DeMont, who is running all of the sales, big reason for our success, is a former super fan. He ran the Soul Meetup. Love hiring the super fans because they love the show. They watch the show anyway. I don't have to tell. This is always great when you have to tell your employees, like, please watch the show. And they're like, well, I kind of work for you, but I don't think I really want to watch the show. I hire people who watch the show already. Give them jobs. What the heck? Anyway, we're looking for a producer, and if you're interested, you know my email. And if you can't figure it out, well, then you're not smart enough to work for me, to be honest. If you can't figure out my email, Jason is my first name, Calacanis is my last. You put an @ between it, a .com at the end, you can have a pretty good shot of finding me. But anyway, the show is doing great. And the reason the show is doing great is because I have the best partners in the world, and one of them is Hiscox Small Business. These guys provide customized coverage and competitive pricing on small business insurance. You're a small business. You're a startup. You need to have insurance. I know it seems like one of those things that you should put off. Oh, maybe I'll wait. I'll do that tomorrow, next week, next month. Hiscox understands that's a hard thing to do, right? You're so busy. So they made it customized and tailored depending on your industry and risk. So if you're an e-commerce person or you're a social network or you're a video game, a social game, those are kind of different things. Or if you're a content company, it's kind of a different thing. So you fill out a little tiny survey at their website, and then they give you the coverage you need, and they don't believe in one size fits all. They customize it. So you may have a lower risk profile. You may have a higher risk profile. They need to know that so they can give you the best possible deal. And you can get a quote by going to hiscoxusa.com/smallbiz. That's right. You just go to Hiscox HISCOXUSA.com/smallbiz. And you can follow at Hiscox Small Biz. And it's really a simple process. And I had Chris Sacca on the episode, and people consider that the best episode, or second, third. Right up there with Gary Vaynerchuk and David Harmar Hansen. People consider those some of the best episodes. Actually, Tony from TrueVentures, people considered a great episode as well. But anyway, Chris Sacca went and used Hiscox to get small business insurance for his fund and for the stuff he's working on and the small businesses he's creating. That's Chris Sacca. Good enough for Chris Sacca, good enough for Jason Calacanis, certainly good enough for you. Well, I mean, I don't know about good enough for Jason Calacanis is good enough for you. You're probably smarter than I am. But listen, get Hiscox and thank them. Just say thank you at Hiscox Small Biz. I got to tell you, there's like 10, 20, 30 super fans who just thank the sponsors every week. And I love you guys for doing that. I really do. Domain Noob, you know who you guys are, gals. Thank you for thanking the sponsors because it means a lot to them. Thank you at Hiscox Small Biz. You ever been sued, Joe? You must have been, had a couple of these, letters and stuff like that, right? As an entrepreneur,
a few letters here and there. Never been sued. Never
got to the actual lawsuit file, but a bunch of letters. Take this down. Do this. I'm a crazy person. Here's something frivolous.
Scary stuff.
Frivolous? What word did I just make up a word?
I think I had an F in there, an extra F.
Frivolous.
Yes. Some employee stuff, weird, mysterious. I was,
God.
This
I was
happened.
fired for nothing.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a genius. You fired me because you don't think I'm a genius, and I forgot that it's employment at will in the United States. So now I'm going to make some crazy sugar up.
Absolutely.
You know, if you curse in the show, it's $10.
I saw, I almost wore my cowboy shirt, but I'm not cool enough to do that.
None of us are cool enough.
Chris is one of our investors, by the way.
Oh, Chris Sacca is an investor.
Absolutely.
How's he as an investor, by the way?
He's great. He's there when you need him, and he's not there when you don't need him. And
that's an interesting insight. So the reason you bring that up is why? Some investors are up in your stuff, when they don't need to be?
Well, there are many different types of investors, as you well know.
Sure.
There are, I call it, I'm an engineer by background. I call it energy sources and energy sinks. An energy source is wind at your back. You just feel like the things they bring to you are helping you, as opposed to, I remember one situation where somebody really wanted me to meet with a partner, and it's like every board meeting, you gonna call those guys? I know they're in Kansas City, but you should really call them. And so
it's like dumping people off on you.
Create work.
They're creating work that you as the CEO don't think is a good idea.
And this is after a board conversation and everyone agrees, let's not do that. And then on the one-on-one call, it's like, hey,
you might want to investigate that a little.
Yeah, and so I love investors who are bringing great ideas all the time, who are wind at your back. But the ones, sometimes you feel like you're dragging an anchor behind you, and they're creating work instead of doing work. I always try to give investors something to do for us, and sometimes it's harder. We have 15 investors. We have all sorts of seed funds and True and Bullpen and all sorts of funds. But
that's a lot of investors. Why so many?
It's just the way it worked out. When we did our $1 million seed, we had, I think at that point, 10. So Ron Conway and Mark Goines and Russ Siegelman and Chris was in, True was in. I'm probably forgetting people. I apologize. Naval was in.
Naval was in. But you've had some success.
Absolutely.
And so that makes it easy. And in a way, for somebody who's had some exits or success, you're actually have to keep a low profile when you raise that angel round at this moment in history.
Absolutely.
Because you're just going to be oversubscribed and people are going to get their feelings hurt.
AngelList is great, but when you get 50 requests from guys who are dentists in Florida, that's a real example. You just, I wanted to stick with people either I knew or someone I knew really respected. And actually, Chris was one of those guys.
Yeah.
I hadn't known him before, but the guys at True knew him really well. And so it worked out great.
So they referred him.
Absolutely.
And so tell us, what is the mission of Tello? And it's changed a little bit, hasn't it?
So we're and I won't go too much into this, but we started out doing mobile feedback for businesses. So one of your guys has the Squeal thing, which is similar in nature, and so we let people text or use mobile web to provide feedback to businesses, restaurants, banks, whatever it might be. And, it turns out that the sales cycle for, we were going after larger enterprise customers, is just incredibly long. Like 3 months to get them interested, 3 months for a pilot, then...
You're talking about like Pinkberry or, some pizza chain or something.
Or a big bank or a big retailer that sells electronics or,
Yeah, they're scared to get that feedback, aren't they?
Well, they know they need it, but it's just a slow process. And in some cases, there are people in the organization who don't want to get that feedback. You're absolutely right.
Right. So I'm the guy who runs the retail, and he's like, let me just collect all the feedback, sort it, and give you only the good news.
Exactly. So
not the raw, like, you guys are idiots.
We were sitting there in June, and Apple announced iOS 6.
Yep.
And, our business was kind of going along. And
when you say going along, is that code for sideways?
It was interesting, but it wasn't going to be a breakout.
Okay, so you knew like maybe this could be 10 million in revenue or 20 million in revenue.
Exactly.
It's not going to be 200.
Exactly. And so
was that the exact number you projected in your mind? What did you think in your mind?
Lower than that.
Oh, you thought this is a $10 million business?
No. At the time, it was looking like, we can get up to 5 to 10 pretty quickly.
Million in yearly recurring revenue.
Yes.
But for you as a serial entrepreneur now, this is your, fourth time at the show? Seventh time at the show.
Yes, sir.
God. So your seventh time at the show, at the rodeo, you just can't get out of bed and go to work for a $5 to $10 million a year business.
It just wasn't interesting enough. And we, were like, well, what do we do? There's some changes we could make. Go after small business was one, for example. But that's really hard as
it's got to be self-serve.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for this, it was hard to do that. So we saw Passbook. And we said, Apple's new.
Describe what it is for people who don't know.
Passbook is in iOS 6. It's a way for you to take anything that's a boarding pass or a ticket, anything that's electronic, and put it into your phone. There's a new app that's on your home screen in iOS 6, and most of them have barcodes. So I think of it as a barcode on your phone. That's probably the easiest way to think about it.
So here it is, just for people who don't know. So if you have a boarding pass or a Starbucks card or anything, they're all filed in one little wallet.
Exactly.
And now, is this really Apple payments in disguise in your mind?
It's coming. And in fact, you can do payments today with things like a Starbucks card, for example.
Right.
So you put a Starbucks card in your Passbook.
Right.
It has value.
But how soon? Because I wrote an editorial about how if they do that, they're going to do. I had inside information, sort of that they're going to do a PayPal type thing, where they do payments. How soon before your Passbook just has money in it, and I can just give it to anybody?
As soon as they release it. It could be next month. It could be...
So you're convinced they will have a full-blown PayPal competitor?
They have to. They have to. Well, I think they will have credit cards perhaps before that.
So you'll have your Visa card in your Apple
in your phone.
Passbook. And will they take a percentage of that, or will it be a VIG?
Currently no, but it depends if it's classified as in-app commerce or not. So
right, and they don't sell physical goods as in-app.
But they can't take 30% from
that
Visa.
Won't work.
It won't work, right?
They're taking 2%. Yeah.
So I think it's imminent, but we've not heard anything about what's coming, and obviously Google Wallet is going after similar space, and
Google has a PayPal straight-on competitor.
Exactly.
So do you think that this is the step in the road to it, or do you think that's another product that they may not get to?
I think it's all going to be bundled into one,
and it's going to be Passbook.
I think so. You don't bump things off the home screen and put an app on the home screen of every iOS 6 device unless you're serious, and that's what they did.
How much commerce do you think will go through Passbook? Do you think $1,000 per user a year, $500, $100 a month?
I think more than that. You're already seeing, it's been out 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You're already seeing numbers. Major League Baseball, they deployed it with 4 teams. 14% of the tickets were in Passbook.
Wow.
Like in 3 weeks, right? And we're in the playoffs.
So that's because the consumer said, just send it to my Passbook.
Exactly.
Now, do you think Passbook becomes cross-platform? In order to succeed, does it have to be cross-platform? In other words, does Passbook need to be downloadable on Android?
I can't see that ever happening.
Really?
I think those two companies, there are issues that go way back.
But Kindle goes across every platform.
But it's not in Apple's style to do that. It's
but iTunes they did, right? At a certain point they cracked, and iTunes did have to go to Windows. It took them what? I don't know, 5 years? Something crazy.
So, maybe with Tim Cook at the helm, maybe different perspective on it, but everything
different than if Steve Jobs was running Apple.
Absolutely.
Do you think Steve was right in his I don't want to use an inappropriate word, but let's face it, he was a bit of a jerk at times, and he was a hardass. Let's use that word. I mean, he might have been a jerk at times. I don't want to speak poorly of a hero of all of ours, but he did have a little bit of an edge there, a little hardcore, and almost to the point of illogical at times, like almost holding a grudge to the point of like, this isn't in your own best interest. This isn't in Apple's best interest. Do you think he would have? So you're saying he would never have let it be cross-platform, but maybe Tim Cook would.
I'm convinced based on what Steve said. He's like, I'm going to spend all of the money we have to crush these guys, right? I mean, that is not a simple statement. So
do you think Tim Cook carries that legacy or no?
I think Tim will do what is in the best interest of the shareholders, and if they determine that going cross-platform is the right thing, I think he will do it. And so you have to take the good with the bad, right? Just I'm sure you've had your share of criticisms as a leader. I know I have. Yeah. The innovation and the spark that sometimes comes with an edge or with baggage or whatever it might be.
Principle.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I respect Steve for taking those stands and built some great products and the most valuable company in the world, right?
Sure.
So you have to take that good, but that doesn't mean you're cruel to people and you belittle them in front of everybody else.
Right. That's which he did at times.
He did. He absolutely did. And
actually, Bill Gates was known for that in his early days of just absolutely gutting people.
He definitely mellowed out. I remember meeting Bill Gates in the early 90s when I was working at a graphics chip company, S3. And I was a young guy demoing at CES or Comdex. Comdex. That's how old I am.
Really? Yeah.
And that was sort of the precursor to CES. And really nice guy. You could tell in like 10 seconds he completely dissected the technical architecture of the product. Scary.
Smartest guy in the room, in any room on the planet. Basically,
he was
very
awesome.
Rare for him not to be the smartest guy in the room.
I was very impressed, and I only spent 3 minutes with him, gave him this demo, and as he's walking away, he's telling his 2 minions who are following behind him, A, B, C, D, E, and they're taking furious notes as I don't know if he was going to go crush us or partner with us or what, but you could just see the brilliance in that guy, and look what he's done now with his causes. So great guy.
Yeah. So tell me about the business. Telio's going sideways.
Yeah. So
and your team's not super motivated. Your board is what?
Board is me and Paul Martino from Bullpen. John Callahan is our biggest investor. The board is
from True.
Yeah, from True.
And what do they think? They're like, you're the horse we bet on. You make the decision.
Oh yeah.
So they just basically are like, hey, listen, if you think that this customer service business is too small and not fascinating enough to you, to use a word, go find something fascinating.
The question was, what else you guys got?
What do you got?
and so and we, this. You're always coming up with other ideas as you're going through stuff.
Any great entrepreneur, as Phil Kaplan said to me, any great entrepreneur has $1 million idea every day.
Well, I don't know if I have them every day, but
he said $1 million idea.
Oh,
which is not a big benchmark. And he said, I think he said like $1 million idea every day and $1 billion idea every month.
Wow, that's pretty good. I hope that's true. But so we started looking at some other things, leaving that business going, and people weren't bummed out about it. It was, hey, there's stuff we can add to this. And we were looking a lot at location-based apps and what could we do to maybe deliver offers as you're walking down the street. And as I dug into it more, as we dug into it more, we discovered there's just a zillion companies going after those spaces. Yeah. And as we spent more time looking at Passbook, we realized there's something really interesting here. I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you send a pass to somebody, and I don't know, have you used Passbook?
I haven't used it once.
So we're going to send you your first pass today.
Okay, good.
It was on your screen right there, but so
I don't even know where's Passbook here.
It should be on your home screen. When you reinstalled iOS 6, they took over one of your spots.
No, it's not. Oh, there it is. You're right. They moved everything down.
YouTube is gone.
Yeah.
From your phone.
Tickets, store cards, coupons. Right. So I can just click coupons.
Well, so no, that thing doesn't do anything. So on our website, you can actually send yourself a sample pass. You just type in your email address, pick one, and send. So you're logged in. Well, just
I'll do another window. So if I go to
passtools.com,
Passtools, Now, putting Pass in it, do you worry that because Apple's a little bit IP crazy, do you think Pass Tools is going to make them a little bit upset, like, no. Too close?
We have a great relationship with them, and actually it's been wonderful working with them. They they really rely on the developer community to help them out, and so we did a lot of debugging and trying to get it to where it is today.
Send yourself a sample pass.
Yeah,
just type in
pick one of those. You just got to click on one of them and click send.
I want the green one. Okay, sent.
And you should get an email. And so what's really cool about this is you're getting this little electronic thing. It's sort of like a PDF, except it's a new file type. It's called a .pk pass file. And you load that into, you just click on it, you open it up, and it loads into Passbook. And now you have your boarding pass, your coupon.
So it's like a standard V card or something.
It just holds everything together.
Is it encrypted and hard to crack, or is it just sort of?
Yes. In fact, part of the challenge of building passes is you have to be an engineer to build a pass. You cannot be a normal human.
It's not like I'm going to fill out some web tool and all of a sudden, bang.
In fact, today I'm giving a talk right down the road at the MacTech conference about how to build passes. And at the end, I'm going to say, yeah, you could do all that hard stuff, or you could just use pass tools.
Right.
So
you're going to build. You have basically an API to build these things quick and fast.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so what's really cool about passes is they're smart, so they're location aware. So you put a boarding pass on your phone, you walk into LAX or you get near LAX, it pops up on your lock screen.
Oh, even on the lock screen?
Absolutely.
Oh, so genius.
So, and let's say you have a coupon, $2 off at Target for Pampers or whatever it is.
Yep.
And you're a mom, and you walk, into the Target, and it reminds you, oh, you need to get your Pampers.
Right. Okay. So they're sort of going to wake up as they were when you can use them.
You got it. And they can be stored value as well. So that's how you can do commerce today on these things.
When it's stored value, how does it do the clearing?
So it's got to be integrated with the POS on the back end. So you've got to, Starbucks, when your barcode, your QR code or whatever gets scanned, then their cash register says, oh, Jason just bought a latte.
From their database.
Exactly. And then you can update the pass.
So Apple isn't even involved in that.
Yes.
Apple just is, they're holding the device, but they don't have any, sorry, I'm pulling it up right now. They don't have any there you go, delivered at Pass Tools. New store card generated by Pass Tools. Okay.
And so the Apple mail clients now recognize this new file type and say, oh, this is a PK pass file. You want to add this into Passbook. So we're gonna get you your first pass, which you can promptly delete. There's actually a cool animation when you delete it, shreds it, but you'll have your first pass.
God, my Sparrow is taking forever to load. So, and then this is what the interface looks like. Where's the interface? Here's the interface. I guess this is the interface for people who are. Yeah, you can see that up there. By the way,
I'm logged in, and it just shows you what's going on with your passes. And I sent one to myself, and you can see the.
So this is for the creator of it, or this is for
the
user?
Business who's
for the
creating
business.
This. And so just to rewind a little bit, so we said, hey, there's an opportunity here. Let's go do this.
Right.
We cranked from June until September 19th when iOS 6 came out. It was 7 days a week, nonstop. You know the drill.
Yeah.
And we launched it, and it's just exploded.
Wow.
So thousands of businesses using this, everything from small guys all the way up to big guys.
So $1,000 a month for 10,000 passes. You're basically going at 10 cents a pass?
At the list price. So big guys will be below that, obviously.
Gotcha.
But no, it's the phrase about pornography, like I know it when I see it.
Yeah.
So a good business, you know it when you see it.
Yeah. So this thing's rocketing, and people are just signing up for 1,000.
I'm not just trying to be promotional. It's unlike anything I've ever seen.
That's a great experience as an entrepreneur, especially when you've had, let's say, not breakout stuff going on for the last year or two. So let's talk about the hard times when we get back from this important sponsor break. Hey everybody, let's stop for a moment and thank SquareSpace, number one, for sponsoring this great program, This Week in Startups, where we get to hear awesome entrepreneur stories like we're hearing today from Joe. Struggle, success, wow, great. And we're right here at that moment when he's having success, which is where he's got that big smile on his face. Going sideways for a year, 2 years sideways?
18 months.
18 months sideways, and then boom, month 20, yeehaw, love it. And we're going to get right back to that great story you were telling. So, SquareSpace, listen, I use it every day, and it's amazing. Squarespace 6 is their latest product, version 6. And look at these beautiful sites, parts and labor design here, gorgeous. And these gorgeous sites, here it is, parts and labor design. Oh, can I click? Oh, I can click and go to my own iPad. So there's the iPad version, boom. And then I flip the iPad version around, and it's totally aware, and I click on the process and the products, and then I can flip back and look at that same part on my desktop. I click over here, boom. It all looks the same. It all flows the same. HTML5, beautiful templates. That's what they're known for. Look at this dovetail, gorgeous furniture. They get all, there's a reason why they get all these gorgeous design people to use their product, because it's elegantly simple and gorgeous. That's the idea behind Squarespace. I say gorgeous website, you say Squarespace. Gorgeous website, Squarespace. 24-hour support, 7 days a week for creating these beautiful professional-looking sites. I use it myself, and every site, as I'm saying, is automatically resized for mobile. I can't tell you how important this is. You build a website with some dude you met on Craigslist, you hired for $50 an hour, and he's billing you $1,000 a month, and you're at $12,000 for the year, and then you open up your iPad and it looks like doesn't even come up. And then somebody's like, I'm a customer. I tried to get to your site. I couldn't find it. And you're like, but it's working. And they're like, yeah, no, I was on my iPad. And you're like, oh, we don't work for the people who have the highest end devices. Kill yourself, right? You're going to go absolutely insane if your mobile site isn't working today when everybody's shifting to mobile and commerce is shifting to mobile in a big way. So go to squarespace.com/twist, TWiST, to try it out for 2 weeks free. No credit card required. They know you're going to love it so much that you will convert your trial to a yearly or bi-yearly plan, which you will get 20% off. And so when you decide to keep that free trial, and they say, enter an offer code, I want you to put in TWiST10, TWiST 10, and you get an additional 10% off. So 20% off for doing a yearly or bi-yearly plan, and then another 10% off by using the code TWiST10. Thank you to my friends at Squarespace. They do an excellent job, and I really enjoy using their product. Okay. When we left you, 18 months of going sideways, banging your head against the wall. Apple puts out this Passbook. And what, you were just watching the keynote live and said,
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then as an entrepreneur, how do you know, and breakout success? How do you get from, there's something there to, OMG, dozens of people signing up for thousands of dollars a month, I'm assuming?
It's, I was trained as an engineer. I'm an MIT grad. I think very logically.
Right.
And when I came out of school, and this is a great lesson for entrepreneurs, I didn't quite trust my gut. And you play poker, I play poker.
Yeah.
You learn over time that your head could be saying one thing, like the odds are against you, but your gut is telling you something else, like that guy is full of crap. Right?
That guy is bluffing me.
So
or attempting to.
So when an idea comes along, there's equal parts analytics, evaluating the opportunity. Hey, is Passbook going to take off? Is anyone ever going to use this thing? Will, businesses support it? And then there's sort of your instinct of, holy crap, this is going to be big. So so that was our experience, and we were looking at other stuff, and I'm still trying to remember how we said, okay, that's the one, because it's such a haze right now because we've been going so fast. But these are the calls you have to make as a CEO, and of course the team was very intimately involved. We have a great group of people, but when you go home at night, and you've been through this, right? Sure. It's all on you. You got people on the payroll. You want to keep making the payroll. You want to make sure that these people don't have to get laid off or whatever it is.
It's heavy as the head that wears the crown.
And it really, I don't know that many people really understand that. You have a responsibility to your investors. Imagine I screw this thing up. I got 15 of the world's best investors who I've just lost money for. And that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of in my career, is never having lost money for an investor.
Well, that's a nice feeling. That makes it so easy for you to raise money, right? Because you can just pull that card.
It really helps. So anyway, we just said, let's go for it. And we weren't sure what was going to happen, and then we launched it, and it's really going to take off. So the proof is in the pudding. We release our API in about a week and a half, and that's when the big guys will start generating passes programmatically. So
it reminds me of The Last Emperor. You remember see the film The Last Emperor?
I did, but it was a while ago.
I got to watch this film again because there was this great scene in the film where the little kid comes out, and it's not this scene, but he's got the great big hall is out there, and he's like looking at the throne.
Yeah.
But long before he's named or whatever, and he looks at the throne and he's like, "Go sit in it." And he's like, "I don't want to sit in that." And sits in it, and he like looks and he's like, "Whoa, I don't want to really be in this seat. Like this is tough. Not a good place. This is not a fun place to be." And so, how much runway did you have left when you launched Passbook?
We had
6 months.
6 months. Yeah.
And do you think you could have raised more money for the previous vision, or do you think it would have been like, pack it up, pack it in?
Maybe, but it would have been hard, and
you would have had to blow a little smoke.
Yeah, I mean, frame it in the best light. I prefer to say, but
yeah, you'd have to really be like, hey, this is possible, but everybody would know.
Yeah, and now, I know we can raise money for this business if we need to. We could actually be profitable before we need to now. So
of course, the jerk VC question when you go raise money from these idiots. I'm talking about the bad VCs.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the good ones.
Okay.
But you're going to get some dopey VC who'd never run a business in his or her life.
Yeah.
And they're going to say to you, well, what happens when Apple releases a tool like this themselves? And what do you say to dopey VC other than, that's a great question and I would never take your money, but what do you say?
Well, so first of all, you build a great relationship with Apple. So we've done that. And
why is that important?
Just knowing, well, first of all, when you have problems, they hopefully respond quickly and fix them. So that's, if you want your product to work, that kind of helps.
Yeah, so technical blocking and tackling.
And it was a two-way street because all the stuff we were banging on was fixing Passbook in a way. So that was really helpful. And then, you're probably not going to get a heads up on like, oh, we're about to crush you and blow you out of the water. But you can get a sense of what's going on. And I think,
how do you think they would phrase it if they were like, they plan on going into this? Would they just cut off communication? Would they be like, this is not the best place for you to focus your energies?
Not sure. I could go completely dark. That would be...
Going dark.
Yeah, that would be one telltale sign something's going on.
Yeah.
They are buying up companies kind of quietly. I forget the one they just bought yesterday.
They bought the HTML5 consultancy.
Yeah, I forget the name.
I think it's... What's your take on that?
I have no idea. I was wondering, if apps are the future, why do you need the HTML5 guys? So that's seems very odd to me. Everything...
Well, they also built a bunch of Q&A and video stuff.
Oh.
So I'm looking at it thinking, nobody's built a viable YouTube competitor. And these guys had a bunch of video experience. They launched a little video platform. And
so Apple's picking off each one of their former Google partnerships. And
well, I mean, that would make sense to just go down the list and be like, okay, Siri, they hired the A9 guy. So obviously Siri.com will become a search engine. That's my belief, is that you'll go to Siri.com and you will search, and they will have a competitor to Google that they'll claim is not a competitor, but it will skim the top 10% of searches, 20% of searches, and then eventually 50%. And the fallback will be, whatever. Or, algorithmic search that we know today, but people want to get an answer, and Siri is about answers.
And they did maps, right? Whether or not people think they're any good.
Well, what do you think?
I have no issues.
Yeah, I don't understand why everyone's complaining.
I think it's crap. I think where it matters is like if you live in New York City and you need the transit stuff, the subways and the buses.
Okay, but that took Google forever to add. That was added in year 9 of Google.
I know. So have you looked at the 3D view? It's just like tremendous. It's like a SGI workstation on your phone. Like that.
Right.
That's the way I think.
For people who don't know what that is,
sorry.
SGI workstation was how you used the internet in 1993 or 94.
Yeah, and high-powered graphics and 3D rotational models.
VRML.
I mean, you could. I flew around New York City the other day on the thing. It's just like blows your mind.
It's mind blowing.
And so clearly they've got a big bet there. Wallet is going to be a big deal.
Sure.
Maybe they do a video thing.
I got to think that Facebook, Yahoo, Microsoft, and Apple will all make a YouTube competitor or play on that, just because they did have, I think Yahoo had one at one point and they shut it down, and Microsoft had one called Soapbox, I think.
Really?
Was what they named theirs, and they shut it down. Just little experiments of anybody could upload a video.
I think the world probably needs, one of these other big guys to do something like that.
Yeah.
And, YouTube is amazing. I heard a story about, Psy, the Gangnam Style guy.
Yeah.
Apparently, even at $15 CPMs, with the number of page views, he gets 50%, right? So
55% if he's a partner, and my guess is he's not getting $15 CPMs on that partnership level. Probably $1.50, $2 net to him.
Well, so
500 million would be
every
$1 million.
parody he gets something on. Someone did the math. It was like well over $10 million just off of YouTube already.
Yeah, I did the math.
You did the math?
Yeah.
What'd you come up with?
I thought if he had 300 or 400 million at the time, it was 300 or 400 million, so $2. And I said basically $2 at the first 200 million, and then the last 300 million or 200, 300 million views might have been at higher CPMs, let's say 5. So, whatever you want to call it, $1 million, sure, why not? Could be $1 million.
I mean, it's awesome. I remember.
And then I didn't even think of all the people who use the song in the parody means he gets to claim their video.
Mitt Romney style. Did you see that one?
I did not see that one, but I will check that out.
That's a good one.
Oh, God. What did he say yesterday? It was in the debate. I don't know when this is going to air, but we just had one of the debates. He's got books full of women.
Binders
full of women.
Binders full of women.
Wow, he is a Mac daddy.
Yeah.
Binders full of women. I've got binders full of women. Really? I mean, it's when you make those slip-ups, 47% of people don't pay taxes, they're freeloaders, and I've got binders full of women. I mean, you don't make that many slip-ups if it's not actually who you are.
I know some people are disappointed in what the president has been able to do the last 4 years, but I just don't want a guy who has no foundation and just wavers in the wind. You need me to be all the way on the right? I'm all the way on the right.
Yeah.
You need me to move back to the middle? I'm there.
What's it going to take to win? He's a winner. He wants to win.
And I get it. Winning is good.
Yeah.
But I'd prefer somebody who has a little bit of principle.
Yeah.
And I met President Obama before he was elected at a fundraiser out by us, and brought my 2 little kids. One was, I think, 7 and 5 at the time.
Right.
And the way you're a dad,
right?
The way you know somebody's real is he's a tall guy, right?
Yeah.
So he, my daughter's probably this tall, right? He bends down.
Yeah.
And gets down on a knee at a fundraiser in a suit,
Yeah.
And he just talks to her.
Yeah. These guys are pros. They know exactly how to court.
So it was. I just think, and I'm from Chicago originally, so maybe I have a soft spot there. But I just prefer somebody who's real.
Yeah.
And let's leave it at that.
Hey, so are we? Yeah, we got to get off the politics talk. But you know what? I'd say about 2/3 of people who watch this show. I think most of the people who watch this show are independent, critical thinking, libertarian types, people who believe in less government and more individual responsibility,
that's
and
me.
certainly tons of freedom. So if you think of from a libertarian perspective and less government, none of these guys are really that efficient or creative. So many problems in society, entrepreneurs could just solve like that. Like, how would you solve the healthcare and obesity crisis? We were talking about that before we got online. And losing weight. We've both been losing weight.
I think.
What would be the entrepreneurial solution? Like, how would you go about trying to say, okay, we got 2/3 of the country obese. How do we how do we solve that problem?
That's a great question. I don't know if I have an answer for you.
What would your process be?
Well, I'd start thinking about incentives, right? And we were talking earlier about, it just takes a few calories a day, right?
Right.
So
margin of error
for me, and I just a couple months ago started on Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Body,
which is basically he's cribbing. He's just cribbing the Atkins, basically.
And it's very similar to Atkins, although
which is smart, by the way, because that is what works. If you take carbs and sugar out, you win.
A few changes, and it's working.
You look thinner, your face is much thinner.
I'm trying. I'm 15, so
I'm 21. Yeah,
I gotta catch
protein diet works.
It works.
I'm not doing Tim Ferriss. I'm just doing no carbs, no sugar.
And I don't know Tim from Adam, but
no, I do. He's a nice guy.
Yeah. So, but it worked for me, and now I've gone out and told probably 10 people, more now.
Net Promoter Score.
Yeah, and so like a little change like that, where you just get rid of white carbs. I think that is the number one problem. Sure. In America.
Yeah, there's a great book, Wheat Belly. There's another one called Why We're Fat, and it just basically points at wheat and flour and sugar.
And things like this New York City ban on large soft drinks.
Yeah.
What a load of crap. I mean, so you can buy a 2-liter bottle, but you can't get the
But you do know that it does incent certain behavior. So if there were no 16-ounce bottles, now on a personal freedom basis, you should be able to make any bottle you want. But it does incent behavior. If you give people 16 ounces, they drink 16 ounces. You give them 12, they drink 12.
But in a libertarian sort of way. So what about French fries? French fries good for you? soda?
Exactly.
So we're going to outlaw French fries as well?
And I think what's interesting about it is I think that Bloomberg is playing on a totally different level than we're talking right now. I think what he does is he knows this is going to create a massive dialogue, and he knows
just
in his
publicity.
heart. Yeah, so he knows in his heart, like, this is stupid. Like, if I ban large sodas, people can buy too, right? He knows it's stupid.
Yeah.
But what he's doing is he's saying, let me seem like this Machiavellian control freak maniac, and everybody will talk about what we're doing, which will heighten the discussion about it, even if what I'm doing is silly.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
That's what I think he's doing.
Well, I mean, soda is evil. So, there's no, I mean, I love it as much as the next guy, but, Coke Zero is my solution to that.
Yeah. Although that spikes your insulin a little bit, too.
A little bit. But not nearly as much. So one a day.
Yeah. See, I think entrepreneurs should run the government. It would be like so much better. But
yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll do something, next time around and go attack it. But, the startups who have gone after healthcare or anything in that space, they get crushed.
Of course.
I think they just get dejected from hitting their heads against the wall nonstop.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think you have to for people have to get like a really true scare, to really. But I mean, people are getting surgery to tie their stomach bands, and there's ads for it on television.
I know.
That's the state of how ridiculous this is. That's the way people think they can solve the problem.
I know lots of people who struggle with it, and it's just hard. I actually give a lot of credit. There's a guy, Yogan Dalal, who used to be the lead guy at Mayfield Fund, and he left, and he's now running a startup.
Yeah.
He's probably, I think he's in his 50s. And it's called Gluco, and it's a blood glucose meter. I think it's somehow tied into
Gluco, huh?
It's like GLOOKO or some weird spelling like that. And I just thought that was really cool. Like he's probably made enough money forever, and now he's going to give back. And he's hired a team of lots of people out of Stanford, and that's a cool thing. So maybe I'll do that someday.
How do you manage burnout? Obesity is one of the things, stress, anxiety, when you're trying to go after a 7-week rush like this, Passbook project.
It's hard. And throw into that, making sure your wife doesn't divorce you and your kids know who you are, right?
Right.
So when people get to that point. But first thing I do, I schedule 2 workouts every week. I work out with a trainer.
Yeah.
He kicks my ass.
Right.
Actually, I have 2 trainers, and it's a little bit expensive, but the cheapskate in me doesn't want to miss those appointments.
Right.
Tuesday, Thursday,
so that works for
8
you.
o'clock.
What about with the rest of the team?
The rest of the team, they all have their methods. Some are cyclists, and so they go and do that. Some just like to walk. One guy's a runner. Everybody.
But how do you deal overall with the burnout? I mean, how do you get people to work 90 hours a week after you've had 18 months of moderate success and say, hey, this time it's going to work. This time it's going to break out.
It was a challenge. We all knew it's like a sprint, right? You know you're going to go all out, and then you're going to relax. So after we launched, we literally, all of us probably slept for a couple days, catching up on stuff, watching the numbers. But you do need to sort of decompress. People took long weekends, went away a little bit. And that's how startups are. Like there are sprint times and there are sort of chilling out, relaxing, and relaxing is like 60 to 80 hours a week instead of whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, we don't have a vacation policy. I insist that people take vacations. Just like go take your wife somewhere or your girlfriend or whatever. But it is hard, and some days you're just sitting there going, why am I doing this?
Right.
And
what do you do on days like that?
You've been there,
of
right?
course.
And those are tough days because people say it's lonely being the CEO, right? It's the loneliest chair there is.
Why is it so lonely?
Well, you don't want to show weakness to your team, to your board, to your investors,
right?
And so I find it's really helpful to have confidants, advisors. For example, Mark Goines is a good friend of mine. He's a great investor. If there's something I really want to talk about, I can give Mark a call, Russ Siegelman the same way, and just level with them and say, here's what's going on. Not that you can't do that with your other investors, but it's a different level of intimacy, if you know what I mean.
vulnerability.
Yeah, and so and I think one of the most important attributes of being an entrepreneur, you can call it stubbornness, you can call it passion or relentlessness. There is a mountain in front of you. Because if you're building a startup, there's a mountain in front of you.
Sure.
No, you're not going to walk into a Google AdWords business just by rolling over.
Yeah.
So there's a mountain in front of you. You have to now figure out how to get past that mountain.
Yep.
And so is it go over? Is it around the side? Is it through? What is it? And you're in the middle of it and something's not working, and it's up to you to figure out how to change the trajectory and go a different way. Yep. And that there's a lot of pressure. Some people can't handle it. And to some
what's your technique? How do you release all that pressure of, I can't show weakness to the market, to my employees, to everybody, yet I'm a little bit panicked about this, and the stress is building, and it's not working, and we got 6 months of runway. How do you just let that pressure cooker not explode?
Well, some nights it's really hard to get to sleep, so I always, some people read, I always watch one show before I go to bed. So
just one show.
Sons of Anarchy last night, right? The new one, was on. Sopranos.
I watched Homeland last night.
Yeah, so
one episode.
So it forces me to think about something else, and in those moments when you're not like fixated on, I'll wake up at 3 a.m. someday and I'll go, oh man, I gotta see. I'm going to Jason's show today, and I gotta be on, and I'm giving a talk after that. I gotta make sure the slides are ready, and your brain just starts like, your to-do list is building, and I'm like, I better write this, stuff down before I forget. So I think you just gotta relax. Taking time away, where like biking for me really does it, because you got to pay attention, or you end up flattened on the side of the road.
You got to be in the moment. You got that flow experience, as they call it.
And so it just sort of puts the stuff, and then you're open to the idea coming to you, and it comes. It always comes. It's just when and where, and so I try to not. Some people say I'm a little high strung. I try not to let it get to me. But that pressure, that's hard, and especially.
So basically, you'd be lying if you said you had that completely under control and you have an easy solution or silver bullet.
You never do. You never do.
And if you do, does that make you not a great entrepreneur? Do you lose your edge if you're not panicked about failure, panicked about not winning, or waking up at 3 a.m. and saying, I gotta get these things under wraps?
It's Andy Grove. It's only the paranoid survive. And so you asked me about, well, what happens if Apple does that? And I'm thinking about, well, what happens if Google does that? What happens if a new competitor comes along? You gotta look. You're under attack from all fronts.
And that's really built to last, right? Like if you want to be built to last, you've got to watch out for those, unknown unknowns.
You do, and I. So you and I share a little commonality in our upbringing.
Right.
So my grandfather came from Italy with my grandmother. Came to Chicago, opened a bar, which eventually turned into a restaurant.
Yep.
Supported 4 families for 50 years. I learned so much.
What was the name of it?
The restaurant, believe it or not, the specialty was barbecue ribs.
Huh.
Larry King once called it the best barbecue ribs in America. It's no longer around. And it's called the Glass Dome Hickory Pit.
Wow.
It's an amazing part of my history, which I'll never forget.
What'd you learn from? Did you work in the restaurant?
Oh yeah, I worked.
What'd you learn from working in the restaurant?
Well,
what age? What's the first gig?
I read your quarter stealing story a couple of years ago.
Oh boy,
it was awesome. But I was everything. I was a busboy. I was a dishwasher. I was a host. At one point.
What was the age that which you first remember doing some task of work for the family business?
Oh, it was before 10, but I don't know,
6, 7, 8?
Yeah, something
like that. What was it? Polishing the silverware? Setting tables?
Just, cleaning up stuff, whatever needed to be done. I wasn't the, what do you call the guy who cleans up the sludge after the bar?
Porter.
The porter, yeah.
I did the porter work when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I would go with my grandfather, God rest his soul. We go to 605 Mass at St. Anselm's. Every Saturday and Sunday. After Mass, he was an usher. There'd be 6 people in this Mass, by the way.
Yeah.
4 of them were ushers. One of them was me, and one was some old little lady who was asleep in the second row.
Right.
I would bring up the sacraments. But then we would go at 7 o'clock. My dad would still be at the bar, playing cards.
From the night before?
Yeah. Playing cards or backgammon, probably. $2,000 or $3,000 on the table. This is the 70s.
Backgammon for cash. That's
guys were into him. He would be drunk. He'd have 5 scotches in him, 10 scotches in him. He would be playing backgammon with guys. They would be buried $5 grand, $3 grand. Mafiosos, bikers, everybody was there. But that was cleaning up the bar. Hard work.
Absolutely hard work, and a lot of time, like my dad could never come to if we had a little league game or something like that on
out of the
4
question.
o'clock. He was working
out of the question,
and it was I was born in Chicago, but we moved out to the suburbs, and so he had a 45-minute drive to get to the business every day, and it was hard work, and I think a lot of my work ethic and my my passion for it comes from my grandfather and my father, and it's that they worked hard, they had fun, at times, they had problems all the times. I mean, you cannot imagine running a restaurant, especially in those days in Chicago, like the stuff that would go on.
Oh yeah, you get shaken down. The guys who, guys who would take in your garbage, all of a sudden they'd say the price is going up. And say, how much? Double.
Yeah. So, and it was
protection money.
It was right next to
cigarette machines.
Comiskey Park, so near the White Sox, and so we'd have fans, and on a good night, 500 people would be in the place.
Right.
So it was a great experience, and sort of my early entrepreneurial experience. Luckily, I went off to study engineering and then went right to Silicon Valley. So I never got involved in ownership or management.
What was the craziest story, like mafioso guys, whatever? Now that it's all over, you can tell it. What's the craziest?
Well,
you tell me a crazy one, I'll tell you a crazy one.
No, my grandfather shot a guy, and
that's crazy. You got me. You win.
So during Prohibition, Prohibition came along. I forget the years of Prohibition. In the 20s,
yeah.
Right? So they didn't have liquor. If you're a bar and you don't have liquor, what do? You start cooking food, barbecue ribs, and other things, and then you go to Canada and you bootleg whiskey.
Sure.
And what's the Boardwalk Empire, right?
Yeah,
same sort of thing. So apparently a cop came in, and something was going on. Like he wanted a drink, or he found the stash or whatever, and he's like, "You're out of here," and a fight ensued, and he shot the guy. And
shot a cop.
Yeah, I don't know all the details. I remember my dad passed last year, and he told me, he was probably like 6 or something, right? So like, somebody got shot, and like they handed him the gun, and he's like this little kid with a gun, and they're like, go get rid of this.
Go get rid of the gun. He's throwing it into the river.
I don't know what happened to it.
Somewhere it's in the river. He should go tell you where it is. You guys can send a scuba team to go get your grandfather's gun.
So anyway, it was apparently it ended up. It was warranted, and I don't know.
You got to get that gun.
Yeah.
You got to talk. Your dad never told anybody where the gun is?
Well, no, they. So he went and hid it, and then like when everything settled down, they went and got it, and there was an investigation and everything else.
That's intense.
Yeah, so that was in the 20s, and it was crazy. So there were all sorts of people stealing from the restaurant, and boxes of steaks walking off, or shrimp, or whatever the expensive stuff was, and setting up stings and figuring out that stuff. But when you in those days there weren't credit cards, right?
Cash.
Cash.
I remember no video cameras.
The cigar box that was in the safe. That's where everything was kept, right?
$100,000.
So anyway, it was. I'm so happy to have experienced that growing up. And
as crazy and hard and as family breaking as it can be, it's also family bonding.
Oh yeah, but it's my dad and my 3 uncles. Like 2 of them weren't talking to each other at any given moment in time. Sometimes 3.
Right.
So it's like, hey, are we going to Uncle Mike's? Oh no, we can't go.
We got to go work together.
And then like next month it's this guy is on the shit list, and so
first one.
Beer for the team.
$10.
All right.
Yum.
So
we will make change.
So
we got to get Square in here.
Yeah.
Square Payments.
I have a credit card. Someday
we prefer cash.
Maybe you'll accept Passbook someday.
Absolutely. You send us a Passbook for a keg.
So anyway, I was looking through this stuff. You and I both went to Catholic high schools.
Yeah, Severian Catholic High School. Where'd you go?
I went to Marist High School in Chicago.
Was that brothers, or was it
Marist Brothers?
Yeah, we were the Severian brothers.
Yeah,
obviously.
so sold companies to AOL.
Yeah, we both did that, right?
So, didn't stick around long in my case. I don't know how long you stuck around. Oh, that's
I did my year,
I did.
But I was sort of, to call it working would be generous.
Launch products at the Wall Street Journal D conference.
Yeah, both
I
did
don't
that.
know if it was the same year or
Maybe
not.
it was,
but
5 years ago.
I don't remember what it was. So that was Presto. But anyway.
And Presto, you sold HP.
No, Presto's still going.
Oh, it's still going.
Presto's a long story. Incubated at KP with Russ Siegelman, who eventually left.
KP a disaster right now? I mean, would you consider taking would you consider taking their money right now, or as a VC, would you be like?
I had a really bad experience there, and I would not.
Right.
But
what happened?
Well, so Russ funded Presto,
right,
and eventually he left Presto, and Randy Commissar took over.
Randy Commissar, famous allegedly for giving a book of erotic poetry to Ellen.
Yeah, and so I won't comment on that, but
I will. If that's true, I will. Let me tell you my benchmark. I will not be alone with a female staffer. I know this sounds crazy.
It's not crazy.
Or a male.
It's not crazy.
Or a male, but especially not a female, because I am just such a target that I just don't do meetings alone with anybody anymore. If I'm taking a meeting with anybody, unless they're on the senior management team, I am going to be in the meeting with other people. Because the last thing I need is somebody saying that I said something inappropriate. I never say anything inappropriate. Maybe at a poker table, but never in business context.
I know exactly.
Who would ever, in their right effing mind, give a coworker a book of erotic poetry?
Allegedly. But
and personalize it.
Yeah, well,
then ask her to dinner because her wife's out of town. I mean, I know Randy not well, but I met him. I pitched him on Mahalo. Seemed like and he's written a bunch of books. Smart guy.
Yeah.
And he seems like a good-looking, talented, interesting guy. If allegedly, whatever, if any of this is true, any percentage of it is true, what a loser! What a loser thing to do.
Yeah. No, I
mean, can you not find another woman to ask on a date than the person sitting in the office next to you? You are a huge loser if the only woman you feel confident asking out is the person who happens to work with you. And that poor woman has to go to work. And we don't know the details of this case, so I'm not making any judgments here. But based on that kind of behavior, if he did it or not, but if other people do it, if you're sitting there and you are trying to pick up the woman you work with, you are an effing loser. Like a complete, utter loser. Go to a bar, go to Match.com, go to Craigslist. Don't be stupid, you moron.
In general, it doesn't end well usually. So
it's so dumb.
I wouldn't know, but
but anyway, your business gets handed off to Randy.
Randy, and he and I just didn't click, and he's like, we got to bring somebody in. Brought in a guy, former Intuit guy,
to run the business,
to run it, and I was quote chief strategy officer. Promptly burned through almost $50 million in capital.
Wow.
And somehow, miraculously, the company is still alive. It's actually, operating and, probably break even at this point. But that was a really hard thing to go through for a couple of years. And it was a long, drawn-out thing. Because I didn't agree with what was going on, and I had to do it in a way.
You lost control of the company?
Yeah, and
the investors had control.
Good lesson. And
how many board seats did you have? How much control?
There were 3 investors at that point, and me, and then there was ostensibly a seat for an outsider at that point. But basically, once you get past 2. You're in trouble. And here's the problem.
So what was the board? How many votes did you have on the board? Common?
Just one. Just one.
And then there were 2 or 3 investors, so you were like 3-1?
But the problem was, so only one investor really believed there was a problem, and that was Randy. And unfortunately, the other 2 guys, when you're investing in a deal with the mighty KP, you don't want to piss off KP because you may never get another deal again. That's how the legend goes, right?
Yes.
So I was literally told by one of the other board members, Joe, I think it's bull. I agree with you.
That's 20. Keep going.
I'll keep going.
You're good
but if I ever want to be able to do something again with KP, I need to be sure that I'm not on the wrong side here.
Wow.
And I'm like, where's your moral fiber?
That is such bull.
And so that really bummed me out because I try to do business with people who I respect and I trust.
Growing up in Chicago, Chi-Town, and like your word is your word. How you treat people is how you will be treated. That's garbage.
So there was a woman who
what a rat. What a cheesy.
I was known for being hard on employees, right? And I demanded a lot from people.
High standard.
Very high standard, and I was born on.
You work for your 3 uncles and your dad. I mean, you got a high standard.
Born on February 24th, Steve Jobs' birthday. Yeah. So I was told you have some of those qualities, but not all.
That's an insult.
I was really. I was told you're just too hard on people, and one of the people who supposedly I was hardest on was running. He was director of marketing. And really wanted to be our VP, and great person. I'm still in touch with her today. I just said, you know what? For this company to go where it needs to go, we need to get you someone who's a rock star who can mentor you and get. She was on a rapid pace, but she wasn't there yet. And that kind of pissed her off, and that turned into Joe is difficult, whatever, and ultimately led to me getting replaced. So
she went to the board and started complaining to the board.
She was close with Randy, and from a previous.
Whoa! Wait a second.
Not in that way.
Well, who knows?
No.
Now allegedly.
But
wow.
You know what? What gives me hope is 2 years later I get a phone call and it's her, and she said, Joe. I went off. I got my VP title. It was at another company. I want you to know you were the best manager I ever had.
Oh, now she appreciates the fact that you had a high standard.
The other guy was a loser, and he gave me the title, but it's sort of like
that's always how it is.
Do I want to join a club that would have me as a member? And so anyway, and we sort of patched it over, but that experience really taught me about. The quality of the investors. And you think I would know. That was number 6, right? So I should probably know by then.
I mean, listen, a reasonable person would say Kleiner Perkins is a legendary firm. There's obviously great people who work there. Mary Meeker's there. John Doerr is there. I mean, some of these people are, people we all know who are just awesome.
Yeah.
But it is luck of the draw with which partner replaces the partner. And that's the fear, right? Some partner that you trust gets replaced by a partner who is... whatever.
It was the most horrible business experience of my life.
Wow.
And
so how does it inform when you start Tello, Passbook? How does it inform how you did company formation specifically?
Well, the first few investors were all people I knew and I trusted, and Mark, Russ, Russ and Mark were investors in Presto,
right.
And they had lived through all the BS that went on.
Wow, so these were guys who were loyal soldiers to you.
Well, they were like, you got rooked, and so that they were behind me, and so that's number one. Number 2 is. Maintaining control as long as you can, right? And so that's being capital efficient, not raising too much money, not spending like crazy. I mean, I look at things like color, and I know Bill and
Bill's a smart guy, great guy.
But Peter Pham, who's
Peter
no
Pham,
longer
smart
there.
guy, great guy.
But when I heard they raised $41 million in their Series A, and I said this has disaster written all over it. Now, Bill has always returned capital to people.
Yeah, so that's why I was pro it. I was like, listen, if you're putting together your A and your B round, and you've got a great idea and the patents, this must be some phenomenal product there, and we know these are 2 phenomenal founders. So I was like.
And DJ as well.
So like, I was like, what's the harm? These guys got the money. There must be some great patent and great IP there.
I didn't get it. And we were right down the street. Like, we're 2 blocks away from these guys. And so, when I hear that, or you hear about Steve Perlman's company On Live.
Yep.
And, what was going on there, like they're just weird things that happen. And so So I just, in this case, tried to be very capital efficient, and I think we have been. I mean, we've built real value.
On low single-digit millions.
Absolutely. And
you like it that way better. Why? Keeps you a little bit hungry?
Keeps you lean.
Keeps you lean.
You get too much money and you start spending. I mean,
big stack at the poker table, you start playing a wider range of cards.
That's exactly the analogy, right?
You start chasing it.
You chase it, and some nights, the flush hits on the river, right?
Yeah, sure.
And some nights
you get paid big.
You just keep chasing it, and you never catch up.
And you lose 5 pots in a row, and then you get felted for 20 grand.
And so I think for me personally, and this is a style thing, I'm not the guy who goes out and raises $20 million and then does the road show and like the hoopla and all that other stuff. I prefer to be sort of underground and like build something and then show up and just,
look what I got.
Exactly.
Like I struck oil.
That's my MO.
Yeah, I like it. I like it as an MO. Well, listen, great interview. Continued success.
Thank you.
You're hiring, I take it. Obviously, you guys are doing very well.
We are hiring.
But you have a high standard.
Very high.
So would you say at times you're unreasonable, or that you have just a consistently high standard?
No, I'm unreasonable sometimes.
With yourself? Do you hold yourself to the same high standard?
Absolutely. And
is that the disjoint sometimes? You hold yourself to such a high standard, and the upbringing you have other people who join who just have never been held to that standard. It's just not compatible with their life.
Some people
experience.
can handle it. Other people, it just breaks them. And,
how do you know? How do you know when you're hiring?
You don't know. Well, if you've worked with them, you know. But you run out of people at some point, right? And so.
You got like little tests, little hacks.
I try to look at the adversity they've faced in their lives, and so I asked them about. You asked me what's the craziest thing that happened at your dad's restaurant, right?
Right.
So what's the weirdest thing you've seen in a company, right?
Right.
And
well, I like that one.
And they start talking about themselves, and they go into like politics maybe, and you can kind of get at what makes them tick. Like, I'm doing this because I'm a product guy, or I'm doing this because I want to be famous, or whatever.
Make a lot of money, whatever it is.
I mean, I remember in the Valley, like when the bubble was big back in the late 90s, I mean, people were flocking in from all over the place. And, I just thinking to myself, what a bunch of pretenders.
Yeah.
Like, get these people out of here.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the bubble popped. Everyone left.
Sure. Out. Done.
I think we have a new era of that going on right now. And, because
every Tuesday night, 9 p.m., Bravo Television. Produced by Randy Zuckerberg. Poor Randy Zuckerberg.
But the bar has gone down so much on starting a company. With you can raise $50K and you're a startup.
Yeah.
So
it's easy.
It makes it a little bit harder. But the real companies and the real entrepreneurs. They're out to build value and return to their investors, and not necessarily just for the fame and glory that you and I both share every day.
Yeah, fame and glory, and you're either a genius or you're an idiot, right? Depending on the day. Listen, this has been an amazing show, Joe. You've been a fantastic guest. If you want to work at, should I say Tello or should I say Test Tools?
Say Tello.
So it's probably, I'm guessing, first name at Tello.com would work.
Joe@Tello.com.
If you're up for it, if you're up for a demanding boss and a great company that's on the rise, working in the iOS ecosystem, no better guy to work for. Hardcore, but a real genuine mensch of a guy I know. We play cards together sometimes. Really good guy. And thank you to my friends at Hiscox Small Biz. Everybody go get your customized coverage with competitive pricing for your business, tailored for your business. It's never too early to get yourself some insurance. And of course, SquareSpace. I love you guys. Yum, yum. At SquareSpace, 24/7 support. Beautiful, professional-looking sites. Make sure you use that code TWiST10 for an extra 10% off. We'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.